Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing my out-of-box review for the HGUC Rozen Zulu Episode 7 version. So let me just say that I really love this kit and I really love this design, and it's just so beautiful. It's got just the perfect mix of being like such a beautiful and like quite feminine design actually, but at the same time so badass and just really awesome. And I love all the angles and edges and all the features, like the really long legs and the huge shoulders and the really tiny head and like torso section in there, and like the big huge claw hand, all that stuff. It's just a really cool, awesome design. It's so like odd in its design. It's sort of like a throwback to like how odd the some of the designs for like some of the more obscure Zeon suits from like the 1 Year War. But or even like I guess like from Zeta and Double Zeta, things like that. Obviously this is derived heavily from the Hama Hama, which we're hopefully still getting the RE for, which I haven't seen any news about that recently, but hopefully that will be coming out soon. But anyway, heavily derived from the Hama Hama, which was a very unique and odd design. But I think this like takes those really odd, like kind of campy designs and gives it just like perfection here basically. It gives it a like more modern, edgy, kind of stylish look that definitely really fits in like the Gundam Unicorn universe. The Unicorn mobile suit designs are all definitely kind of fitting into this. It's a very Kotoki design, I guess. So if you're a fan of Kotoki designs, then you're probably agreeing with me in liking the design of this. The color is also something that I assume will probably not appeal to everyone. Pink and purple is not everyone's cup of tea. I actually really like the colors for this, and if you aren't going to be painting, the colors for this are a lot better than the colors of the regular version, which I talked about in the unboxing. The colors of the molded plastic of the original version of this kit were just wrong and pretty ugly if you ask me. The colors in this case are much better, and that's good. And you can actually build the original kit with this set, so that's nice. I'll get more into talking about that a little bit later. Anyway, just a really fun build. This is actually my second time building this kit. Sort of, I built the original version, but I built it in the clear version. But I mean, it's basically the same thing. So I remembered that build, but it still wasn't really boring or anything to build it again. I just liked the design that much, so I enjoyed it. Putting the stickers on takes some time. This is definitely a quite sticker-heavy kit, just for all those little white color apps and everything. It's just all being stickers. So that definitely takes some time if you're going to be using the stickers. If you aren't going to be using the stickers, then you're still going to be in for a lot of work painting that, whether you do a reverse wash or whatever method you end up using. Just masking would probably also be maybe just as easy as doing a reverse wash in this case for that lining, but whatever method you do end up using, it is going to take a while to get the preferred look. But it's definitely worth it. That white lining just adds so much. If you didn't have that white lining all around on there, it would definitely not have the same punch. That definitely adds a lot to the overall look of this, I think. So let's get into talking a little bit about the articulation here. So let's go. For this little tiny peanut head in here, the mono eye doesn't move. You can probably barely even see it in there. It's just a little sticker, so you can choose to stick the sticker on like off to one side or something if you want, but it's just a sticker that you stick on there. There's no actually molded detail for that, so that doesn't move at all. But I mean, it's so tiny, and inside this thing you can like barely see it unless you get the light just right anyway. So yeah, the head will move up to about there, which is quite far, which is really good, because one thing that I love about this kit is how like graceful it is. Also, when you see it like in the OVA and in the manga, or sorry, in the anime, it's just really awesome how it moves around on the battlefield. Just really graceful, and having a head that will point up like that will give you some really nice, I think, posing options for doing some really cool poses. So anyway, then pointed down. It can point really quite far down to there. The whole head, like sort of resembling a sort of rosebud there, matches with the backpack here as well, which all looks pretty cool. As far as the backpack, I guess why don't we go there next. These parts here will move up and down and then out side to side like that. So you can pose these in a lot of different ways, and they will also open up to kind of simulate the psycho jammers coming out. So we just have these two closed psycho jammers here, which again are adding to that kind of flower look of this. And then we have these fuel tanks down below, which will just move around on ball joints like that. For the shoulder armor can move up and down on its own. Not really too much there with it being so huge. There's not a whole lot of room for that to move around. But then the arm can come up. The arms are obviously asymmetrical in this case, but the articulation is pretty much the same. So it can come up to about there. It's going to be about the limit for that. But then you can, of course, rotate that and bend at the elbow. On this side, you're getting just about 90 degrees, basically, with this new arm with the megaparticle cannon. On the other side, also only really about 90 degrees, but it's just because of how large the forearms are. These claws will open up a little bit, not a whole lot, but they do open up some, I think enough anyway. And that is pretty much it. It doesn't have hands, so nothing really to talk about there. As far as the waist articulation, it can kind of move forward and back. You can see we're getting some there, but the backpack is so heavy, it's kind of weighs it back, so you can move it forward like this, but then it's just kind of going to naturally fall back just because of the weight of the backpack. Side to side is nothing really, and then it can rotate some though, so that's all fine. As far as the skirt armor goes, the front skirt armor can move, but it's kind of blocked by the side skirts. If you move the side skirts kind of out of the way, then that front skirt can move up fully like that. These side skirts don't really move anywhere except kind of folding out like that, just the way that they're attached. They're kind of like attached into like the back, and then the back skirt is just fixed on there. The legs will rotate at the top, and this can come up nice and far, again just by moving this skirt armor out of the way a bit. You can get that leg up nice and far. Really nice separation there with that big, huge, pointy knee kind of armor spike thing. This part here though doesn't move. Kind of wish that this part also moved as well, but who knows, maybe if we get a master grade or something someday. The knee can bend pretty much all of that, like almost a full bend. You can see there's a spike on the back of the leg, which is now becoming the problem because it's running up into the waist there. But really, really nice articulation here in these legs. We have these nice long legs with nice articulation. This spike here on the back of the leg also moves a little bit. I find that to be a little bit loose sometimes. It's not really in there on anything. It's kind of just a little bit loose, but not too bad anyway. The ankles will move side to side a bit, enough to get a pretty wide stance if you want, but you're probably going to want to have this flying anyway. Down to there, you can see we do have some separation in the foot. The front part is a little bit separated. You can move the foot forward to about there, not a whole lot. Down to about there, more than enough. As far as the detail underneath, there's not really much of a foot there on the bottom, but yeah, not really much going on there. So that's pretty much it for the articulation. It does have some accessories, but what this kit has for accessories is like not really a lot, because pretty much that's all the weapons it has is all there on the mobile suit. The claw and the beam cannon inside the claw, and the mega particle cannon there for the arm, basically. So, but let's talk about what all it comes with. So first off, if you wanted to build the original version, you do have all the parts to do that, but you can't make all those parts at the same time. So like, for example, here's the other arm, but we're missing the polycap for inside here. That's inside that arm. So like, you can't have this full arm at the same time as having this full arm unless you have an extra one of those, that specific polycap laying around, which although I have a container full of extra polycaps, I apparently don't have another one of that particular one. So anyway, if you don't want to use this arm and you want to use this one, all you got to do is just put that polycap into this one, and then there you go, you got the full arm. You do have all the stickers for this as well. I just didn't put them on. They're just still here on the sticker sheet. But so if you want to do that, you can use just two of the claw arms. And then we also have the shield, and we all have all of the parts for the shield, again, except for this gray piece inside, which is used inside this shield here. So you would have to just put that into this one instead of that hand if you wanted to use this shield and not use that one. One other thing I would also recommend, maybe if you do want to use this and maybe just attach it onto the arm like usual, like that. Now you are going to be missing that gray piece inside of there, but you could very easily just, I think, not use that. I mean, it does have just this kind of molded detail in there already, which is just not really actually supposed to be detail. It's just supposed to be there to hold that gray piece, but it doesn't look too bad as it is. Or just get some option parts, so some option like thruster parts or something from Wave or Kotobukiya or something, and just stick those in there instead. And it would look pretty much the same as that anyway. So you could definitely do something like this if you wanted it to have 2 megaparticle cannons. That's a pretty insane amount of firepower on this thing, but just a suggestion, something you could do if you wanted. Alright, then we also have these stands, just these clear stands. They're just attached, it's just like a ball joint at the bottom, so you can actually move the angle around for these. We only have 2 of, well, there's 4 bases. Well, there goes the Rozen Zulu anyway. We have 4 bases, but we have 2 long arms and 4 short arms. So I've just got it set up now as it's the 2 long and 2 short, but you could have 4 short, but you can't have 4 long. So anyway, that is that. We do have, so like you might be thinking, well, can I attach one short one onto another short one like this? But actually it doesn't fit because this ball is too big to fit into there, so that doesn't work. What you can mount on these are these open psycho jammers. Now we actually get 6 of these, just flower shaped things. Now again, only 4 stands, but we have 6 open psycho jammers, so again you would have to get a little bit creative maybe about making some other stands or something if you wanted to actually use 6 of these at once. But these very simply just plug into here like so, and that's that. You can have those pointed off like that, doing whatever. Then we also get a set of these 4 wires. Now, as I said in the unboxing, these are too weak. These aren't going to hold up anything on their own, so you have to use the stands to kind of hold these up with some extension parts. So again, if you did want to use 2 of the claw hands, if you didn't want to use the shield arm, you just wanted to use 2 of the claw arms and you wanted to have them both on wires, you unfortunately have only 1 set of these, so you'd have to cut them in half or something, and then you'd only have like half the length of them. As they are, without getting out my ruler, I'm going to say these are probably around 20 centimeters. So again, just keep that in mind. I guess if you wanted to use both of the claw arms, you won't have a whole lot of wire to work with. So yeah, then you have just a bunch of these extra little parts here. Clear parts that you will use in conjunction with these little stands to feed the wires through. And then you have these parts which act as like the kind of parts where that will feed through the wire, where like the wire will actually like bend just while it's flying through the air in space. It uses these kind of things here that are just so fed through the wire. So basically you just have to feed the wire through a bunch of these by just taking the claw off of here, and then you just attach a clear part into there and a clear part into here, and then a few of these little purple guys in between. Feed them all through these stands, and then you can show the claw flying through space. And then now that it's off the hand, you can actually open that quite a lot wider, like that. So it's a really cool effect. I'll show that to you guys here in just a bit, but let's show you some comparisons first. So here he is compared with the HGUC Shinanju. Both of them fantastic kits, obviously going to be a proper pair with each other. And I think the scale is right. I mean, they're both quite tall mobile suits, so they're both going to be pretty large kits in the 1/144 scale. And the Shinanju, as we know, in Master Grade is also quite large kit. And then for comparison with a normal size 18 meter tall Gundam, yeah, you can get a good idea of just how big this kit is. That little local Gundam local type is just looking like a little sad little man there, stood next to this beautiful beast. So yeah, I mean, I know Char is usually accredited with having the most badass pink mobile suits, but I mean, those are even barely even pink. Some of those you could even call magenta or salmon. I'd have to say, if you wanted to talk about like the most badass pink mobile suit, I think you're probably looking at it right now, because this thing is really awesome. No matter how you pose it, it just looks great. As you can tell, I really like this kit, and I really like this design. It's definitely one of my favorites. So posing it for me is a lot of fun. I really enjoy just looking at this kit. It's almost a shame that I'm going to be taking it apart and using it for a kit bash, but I'm sure I'll end up buying another one eventually. Though, here's a real bummer. My leg just broke off. That's too bad. I'm gonna go on with the review, and this will be easy enough to fix later, but for the rest of this review, he's gonna be having a battle damage, leg broken off. Basically, there's just this little part here, which just holds that on there like that, and while bending that, it just broke. It's just a really small bit of plastic that is held on to this part which holds the polycap there. So just be careful with that, I guess, is the moral of the story. When bending that, mine was a little bit tight, and just as I was bending it, it just broke that piece of plastic. So, yeah, just be careful, I guess. But even after suffering the loss of that leg, it still looks great. And with those little stands and being able to pose the little rose-shaped psycho jammers, it looks great. I love this kit so much. Yeah, but I should stop beaming about the kit and talk about the negatives, because it does have a couple, aside from that apparently weak knee joint, or that weak piece of plastic there in the knee. The negative points of this is just probably it's going to be quite difficult. If you don't want to use the stickers, it's going to be difficult to paint that stuff, I guess, maybe for some people. I mean, it's not going to be fun to paint that, even if it's not difficult. It probably won't be the most enjoyable thing to have to paint, that little lining, but that just comes with the design, unfortunately. The other thing is that it does have a few seam lines, although really not that many. There's a big seam line, of course, going across the top of the shoulder armor, but that's pretty usual for an HG. And then a couple of seams there on the legs, but I think those could pretty much just count as just panel lines, sort of, or just armor separation lines, so you really don't need to worry about those, I think, too much, to be honest. So, as far as any other real negatives for the kit, there really aren't any, I suppose. And that's not even my bias talking, but the fact that I really love this kit, just that there's really not anything too negative to say about it. So I think maybe, I guess, if there's one thing that I could say about it is that I wish that it came with a base, because this is a kit that definitely looks so much better when it's flying. I mean, it looks great standing, don't get me wrong, but if you, especially like with the stuff that it comes with, like the little bases for like the wire guided claw, or if you want to use those for the roses and psycho jammers, whatever you want to do with this kit, like those accessories work so much better when the kit is also up on a base. So I think just if they would have included just a simple base, the kit is already expensive enough, I know, but if they would have added, I think, just 200 yen for this to just include one of those simple HG bases with that, I think that definitely would have been nice. Right, well, apparently this is either a cursed kit or just a cursed review, because not only did I break the leg of this kit, I also deleted the last video file, which was the last part of the review, so I'm actually re-recording this last part of the review again. And yeah, so here we are. This is with the wires in place. The wires do work okay. They are just kind of thin and look a little bit flimsy though, so yeah, I think you have to take into account though that this is also on a very small space. I'm trying to, pose this just all on my very small, just little rotating display stand there. But if you are actually able to pose this and put this into like a proper diorama or something where you have actually enough space for this to give those wires, I don't know, like good area to move around with the income and all that, I think would definitely look better. And just anything like if putting this into a proper diorama would just make it look better. But just as it is, it doesn't look too bad, so I think it does the job. Anyway, that is really just about all that I can say about this kit. It's a great kit. Just be careful of that knee joint, apparently. I hadn't noticed that before, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any other questions or comments, feel free to leave those down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.